you have a case right now against the Department of Children, Youth, and Families, the DCYF, and also a local school district.
Right.
When I tell you, I referenced this with you, and I said, hey, it's kind of a behind the scenes at this point, but the case is unbelievable that something like this would happen. A young man starved to death.
Right.
Can you tell us a little bit about this and what's happening right now?
The boy's name was KIRO Franks. He was 15 years old, autistic, severely autistic, nonverbal, and he was being supported by his adoptive parents that were receiving assistance from the state. And the adoptive mother, Felicia Adams Franks, starved the boy over several months. And we sued DCYF because a week before the boy died, the DCYF caseworker actually visited the apartment where the boy was living and did not do anything to help the boy.
This is one of these wellness checks they're required to do.
Well, it was based on a complaint. So somebody had said that the children looked emaciated and were not being fed, and so the DCYF caseworker came out to investigate. And the boy weighed about 61 pounds at the time of his death. And
how old?
15 years old.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. So we sued the state, DCYF, but we also found during our investigation that there were numerous signs of abuse and neglect that KIRO's teachers ignored. Probably anywhere between 20 and 30 instances, red flags that would put any reasonable teacher on notice to make a complaint, and that was not done.
And this is Evergreen School District?
This is down in Vancouver, Washington, right?
Why would a teacher not report these things? You know, are there reasons are there teachers at risk if they make reports or accusations?
You know, great question. No, the law is drafted in a way, for instance, the reporter has complete immunity. So if your report turns out to be false, you can't be sued, right? The other thing with the law is that if you do not make a complaint, that is considered a criminal offense, and you can be taken.
Because those are the safeguards of the system, the people, the teachers, the school systems.
It's set up to encourage people to make reports. Even in close cases, you make the call to CPS, and it's only about a 5 or 10 minute call, if that, in many cases.
What's interesting too is you have somebody, obviously, in this poor young man who's passed away, but you have somebody who noticed,
right,
and said something. So much so that DCYF actually sent somebody out there. But then the person, was it just a matter of like if they had just lifted up the kid's shirt to see his stomach, or like what signs should they have noticed that they were not seeing?
From what we know, the caseworker saw the boy in a room that was completely dark. She did not turn on the lights. She did not go to the boy and lift up his shirt, which is a minimum of what should have been done.
Yeah.
If she had done that, she would have clearly seen that he was emaciated and starving, right? But even without that, by looking at the boy's face, his gaunt appearance, right, would have put any reasonable person on notice that the boy's not being fed, especially when that's the whole purpose that you're there. The complaint was the children are not being fed enough food.
Yeah. And it's not like a scheduled visit.
Right, and it's not the kind of case, too, where we get more right than we get wrong. You can't afford to get any of them wrong.
Right.
I mean, these are life and death situations when someone has to do a wellness check on a child.
Yeah.
Also, the school district thing is confusing to me because they're seeing this kid. I assume that his program that he was in would be a daily, 5 days a week program,
yes,
like most students. So he's outside the home. He's not in a dark room where that can be hidden.
Right.
Teachers are interacting with him, I assume, on a pretty personal way. If had a lot of disabilities, and I remember when I was in high school and when I was in elementary and middle school. If you have a special needs class, say, then it sounds like he might have been in one of those programs.
Yep.
They're getting extra special attention. I mean, they're much smaller classroom sizes. How is it that those teachers were not making those assessments?
Well, we don't believe the teachers were adequately trained by the school district. That's number one. Number two, they didn't really understand fully their responsibility. They didn't understand that even in close calls, minor suspicion, you need to make the report.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it didn't happen in this case. I mean, we've got emails and some records to show that the teachers knew something was going on. I think in this case, the adoptive mother was intimidating. And so I think some of the teachers were afraid not to make her angry.
Run afoul of her, yeah.
Exactly. So you add all those things up, and you talk about a couple of dozen missed opportunities to save this child.
Oh, my gosh.
Is there an effort to better educate teachers to what their responsibilities and parameters are of these programs?
That's a great question. I think it really comes down to the district involved. In our case, we don't believe there was any training at all. Each teacher was left to decide on his or her own when to make a report, right? There should be some uniformity among the district and the teachers and administrators that if you see or hear these signs, a report should be made. And that wasn't done in this case.
There's a lot of cases involving schools that you guys are dealing with specifically, like right now.
Right.
Is there a reason for that? Have people become more aware as we talk about things like this? I mean, we're talking about it now. Somebody hears a story like this and they think, hey, you know what? I saw somebody. And so then they investigate and find out that, yeah, there's a reason that we need to be asking more questions.
Is there like an increased public awareness? Is there an evolution of public awareness?
You know, that's a great question. It might be because of that. It might be because of budget cuts, right? And kids following through the cracks as far as like the special needs kids and watching for signs of suspected abuse and neglect. I don't know exactly why we're getting a lot of school cases, but we definitely are, and there's probably a multitude of factors for that.
One of the things that, I know we're almost out of time here, but one of the things that shocked me last time we were talking, I forget the case we had you in on, but there was another case, and you were telling us how one of the biggest offenders in the state, as far as, you know, the state keeps they keep money on hand to make payouts in the event of wrongdoing.
There's a dedicated fund.
Yeah. And one of the biggest offenders in that is the DCYF. Isn't that right?
That's right.
What is it yearly? Do you have that number, like an approximation of what they're paying out?
I think one figure I heard, 400 to 500 million.
That's what I thought. Yeah, $500 million I heard. Yeah.
Over a short time span, maybe 3 to 5 years, I think.
Paying out because of either awarded against them or settlements for wrongdoing that they have admitted. I mean, that's, to me,
because they're not doing their job. They're not investigating and protecting these kids like they should.
Like the POW kids. You remember the POW kids?
Sure.
Yeah.
That was like a landmark giant case. Yeah. And that payout was something like $100 million or something?
That was the verdict, right?
Am I wrong? Am I misremembering this? That it seems to me now there are more cases from years prior, even decades prior, where people who found themselves in abusive situations or inappropriate situations with educators who didn't come forward at the time, but now it's like, hey, you know what? 10 years ago, my teacher did blah, 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 these things. Yeah. Those are also part of these cases that school districts are settling or paying out for.
Yeah, you see that in the sex abuse cases. So a teacher has some sort of sexual relationship with a student, but the student doesn't know what's going on, and only until the student gets to be 18, 19, 20 realizes what has been done and brings a claim.
And there's no statute of limitations on that stuff, right? Like that.
Well, there is a statute of limitations. It comes down to when do you first become aware of the damages to what was done to you. And a lot of times a child doesn't know that until
not
they get
the
in their 30s.
incident, not the incident, but when you're aware of damage.
When you're aware of the harm, right? And a lot of these kids don't know that until they get to be adults, 30, 40, 50 years old.
So you could have a scenario where something happens 20 years ago, but somebody doesn't realize it until 25.
Yeah. A lot of times they block it out. Their psyche blocks it out. They don't remember
I hear about that all the time.
They go to therapy, and then this stuff comes up.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh.
Is that one of the reasons? I mean, it's in a different thing, but nowadays the when someone can bring charges of sexual misconduct or abuse or what even worse, much longer limits, statute limitations have been extended in some places.
Yeah, many states have done that. Like California has extended it. In Washington, I don't think it's been extended a lot, if at all. But yeah, these are some of the ways that the states are trying to protect these kids.
Well, there's just we end up covering a lot of legal stories, and it's nice to have a voice to help us make some sense of it. Chris Davis, Davis Law Group, thanks for coming in.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.